You can be the best mountain climber in the world, but if you do not have a Sherpa, you will die on Mount Everest. AI is that best climber in the world, but it is an absolute useless pile of crap without a guide. We've been screwed over by AI way too many times for us to blindly trust it. Whenever I over-engineer a post thinking this will slap, it almost never does.
It's almost like that girlfriend that you can never guess how the mood's going to be tonight. It's almost like that on LinkedIn.
I sacrificed achieving 1 million in 1 month to achieving it sustainably in 1 year.
Are you doing a lot of vibe coding? Are you still following the old patterns and new patterns? How are you trying to be super fast with shipping the product?
We will attack every channel for an extremely long time period with one agenda and one agenda alone, which is to build trust versus drive conversions.
I think this is a playbook that we all are kind of falling in love with. Everybody in my team's got access to Claude Code, and we have shared skills that we publish them.
One of the things Gary does say, well, which I really appreciate, is the dumbest thing you can do is stop doing the thing that got you to where you got you. You do not make money by charging more. You make money by being more efficient. So if your cogs are low, that's where you make profit.
I ask you to give one advice to entrepreneurs who are on their way to kind of make it. Welcome to the podcast Edbound with Kenna. Vaibhav, it's such a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Now, I can introduce you in so many different ways. You wear so many hats. You've been an entrepreneur, an expert in GTM. You've done so many cool things. But I want to hear from you. How do you introduce yourself if you are in a group of friends who are entrepreneurs or investors?
Okay. Friends who run businesses. Yeah, I just tell them we run a lead gen platform. We help people bring in leads. We're part of companies who use outbound as a part of their marketing stack. And if you don't, then you don't know us. If you do, hopefully you do know us.
Wow, that's a simple one. But if somebody asked you, what defines you? You've done so many things. How would you like to tell people what is it that sparks your interest right now, apart from building Smartlead into a mammoth, respected globally organization?
I think I wake up every day to see the world in a whole new place in terms of how everyone's adopting to AI and internal workflows, not just on a product perspective to offer to customers, but also on an internal operation perspective, how we can make things better and more efficient. Like on a parallel screen, I'm currently solving we have a few internal agents that actually we've handled our entire support ticket process right now, where previously we would need a team member or technical customer support or technical architect required, but that's now completely abstracted into this agentic thing that we built up that connects to multiple repositories, understands context of tickets. So it solves a lot of operational issues, but also now the more exciting part is we can create very, very interesting onboarding and problem solving experiences for customers in terms of access to information. So that's also a pretty interesting use case that we're seeing.
Wow. Now, I think I agree with you. What keeps me excited is the pace that AI is moving at. And I think I was just showing my co-founder here the list of agents that I have on my plate right now. So I have these 28 agents that I want to build to solve various problems in the organization, improve things. In fact, there's like a chief of staff, EA, like all kinds of shit that I put on there. So you started with a services company. I think it was called 521, right?
Yep, nailed it.
And then you built a product company after that. Now, what are the parallels that you are drawing from your agency life? What did it teach you about customer pain and what's carried on?
So from agency, I think services, right? I think customer support and servicing, I mean, where every day, that's the biggest thing I'm trying to optimize and work towards. Like even like I said, the thing right now is I truly believe the support experience right now is going to be the main defining outcome over here. Meaning, how do you give everyone a red carpet experience when everyone has the same software, right? The ways of differentiation comes down to a brand perception in terms of how the world perceives you, in terms of, and brand now moves more and more to principles of trust and reliability. And trust and reliability comes down to, again, assuming technology is the same and everyone offers the exact same thing, same uptime, etc. Then it just comes down to the fact that I feel safer using this product. And I know that if I have a problem, I have someone to reach out to. So it's about, for us, trying to find out how we can systemize support at scale. Like when we support, 30, 40,000 businesses, how do we support them at scale? Letting them feel like they're just one of the many. And a lot of the operational efficiency right now we're doing is to work towards the support experience. And that comes from the fact that in the agency side as well, majority of the work was to ensure that we gave all our customers a very clear support experience. And, they're taken care of, their issues are sorted out, and at any point in time, we're always present. That's one. And the other part is to be scrappy. Our customers will come back saying they want all these crazy infrastructure. Just get 5 customers first, then worry about the other thing. And I think that's the main piece I push to my team as well. Whenever we're trying to over engineer or over solutionize, I'm like, get the first version in, then push out. There's nothing that I think I'm doing right now that is not spoken about in all the blogs and articles that you see. So I think it's just that we just actually physically implement it versus a lot of people might just talk about it. So for us, it's just rapid, rapid, rapid. I'm just constantly pushing the team to figure out ways to get us to the outcome as soon as we can. And if the outcome seems too big, how do we chip and chop it to make it into mini outcomes to get us to that point? We let's just say time cannot be constrained. It's going to take us 8 weeks to build, but I don't have 8 weeks to wait. So how do I get the thing I want them to feel in 1 week? And it's sitting with the product team, the dev team to then understand what are we trying to solve, chip and shape, and then okay, in 1 week we can give them this, which is like a let them feel the AC of the car. Right, we can give them the actual locomotion in a second. Let's just at least give them the AC in the car. Versus let's not even give them an AC. Let's just give them Uber as an application, and then we'll give them car ownership eventually. That kind of vibe.
Yeah, no, I think this makes sense. And what you just mentioned about that it's all there out on the blogs. The reason I do this podcast is to put faces behind voices. A lot of people kind of also believe that LLMs have just ingested the entire internet. Every voice ever spoken on the internet's been ingested, and it can give you all the knowledge that you ever wanted. But faces are a powerful tool now. I mean,
I agree.
of
Yeah.
faith or of trust, and that's the whole intention here. So I'm like super keen to learn from people who are kind of making it happen, who are in the midst of all this change. But thank you so much for highlighting about these two things. And I love the scrappy part. How do you bring that into the product? Because I've seen you talk about that on LinkedIn as well. The pace, the speed. Is that,
Yep.
I mean, are you doing a lot of vibe coding? Are you still following the old patterns and new patterns? How are you trying to be super fast with shipping the product?
I think everyone's vibe coding, but I don't let anything go through without a human review. Even with the automation agent that I mentioned, there's a human, like a team member, always involved, and we've seen it far too many times where AI has screwed us over way too many times for us to just blindly trust it. It's very knowledgeable, but it becomes one of those things where you have the imposter syndrome comes. You're like, okay, this has to know. To your point, it's scraped and it has everything and knows everything, so it has to be smarter. But I think the space where you come in as a person is context more than anything else. Is the relevance of context you have makes the biggest difference. So I think everyone's vibe coding. If not the case, there's always a human in the loop involved. And as mentioned, even with the CSM bot that we have, there's always a team member involved to actually reviews it. We've been screwed over by AI way too many times for us to blindly trust it. To your point, you said there's an imposter syndrome where we assume that it is true because it has access to all knowledge on the world. But I think the biggest play right now, at least for the next 2-3 years, is going to come down to relevant context, chapter 3 versus chapter 1. I tell my team this, which is you can be the best mountain climber in the world, but if you do not have a Sherpa, you will die on Mount Everest. And I think I treat it very similar to this, which is AI is that best climber in the world, but it is an absolute useless pile of crap without a guide. And your value for now, like to be put that very big apostrophe, right? Your value for now is going to come down into the chapter 3 versus chapter 1, which is to have contextual value to the problem you're solving compared to anyone else. And you can say, yes, AI knows more about these than you do. Yes, in a broader spectrum. But if in the simplest format, it's a GP. It is not a specialist. You can go to the GP, and I have enough analogies, right? Because I've had enough chats with the team. Like you can go to the GP and tell them you're sick, but if you guide the GP saying my nose hurts or my throat hurts or my nose hurts, you will get a quicker solution. You have to be that guide, and if you're not that guide, they will eventually get there. But it's just going to take you a lot of effort and time to get to that point, which then just defeats the purpose. With that being said, a lot of the vibe coding approaches we have is extremely tight rules that we provide and shared across the team. We actually have an entire agent toolkit process where we share agents with each other. There's a whole contribution layer involved where, of course, we've got the entire team on Claude right now, people who've never seen a terminal in their life. And we made it very self-guided as well as completely configurable, where you can create your own agents. And then we have show and tells with the team every week, every 2 weeks right now. And the teams who create the best agent wins certain rewards. Because while now it's more reward driven, eventually it's going to become a basis of requirement and necessity for you to have any career promotion, not only here, but honestly anywhere in the world, as the way I see it. So we are getting a lot of the team involved in the build part as soon as they can. And the scrappiness then comes down to now, what is the actual value, the MLP versus MVP, which is what's the minimal level version that you want to get the customer to feel. And then when you basically verbiage it out, feed in the context you need, because we've built enough tight guardrails around what exactly are the parameters to work on. Don't over engineer, don't under engineer, don't blah blah blah. It's able to build things that fast. So I think speed comes through a bit of reiterative process right now. So it was slow, but then now it picks up a bit of energy.
Wow, no, that's a good one. I think this is a playbook that we all are kind of falling in love with.
Yeah.
Everybody in my team's got access to Claude Code, and we have shared skills.
Correct. Yeah. All that jazz. Yeah.
We publish them, and the beauty of Claude Code is it lets you do the organizational skills that you can kind of deploy organization wide.
Correct.
So how big is the team? How big is the team right now that you're kind of operating at Smartlead?
It's 52 team members right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So with us, the Claude Code side, we actually don't use the desktop app. We actually run everything through Bitbucket. Actually, switching that through different departments and teams gets a bit interesting and fun. But yeah, that's the setup at the moment. Majority of the team is a blend of right now the biggest team is support, followed by engineering, then marketing.
Okay. Now, if I asked you the question, what's your favorite channel of growth for Smartlead? And I know what the product does, but I still want to hear it. What's the one lever that kind of works the best for you in terms of your growth and acquisition?
So I think me giving an answer now, we're 3.5 years in, we'll hit 4 soon. Maybe this is open claim, might be my ego speaking. I think any team that says that there's one primary muscle that's working, that's great. But I think for us, what we've seen is it's actually spread across everything. But there's obviously a bias towards some. We do know paid works well for us. We do know social media presence and natural conversations, or word of mouth, as they call it, works for us. We do know some level of product level growth, which is we get people to talk about us through the product, works well for us. We do have a community on our side with 7,000-8,000 members on a Slack community.
Wow.
We are part of several groups and WhatsApp, like dark groups, where we have active conversations. We do have a partner program where we work with agencies who then recommend us, and that's a big part of it. And that eventually drips into the affiliate partner program as well. We do try and maintain a presence on YouTube and Instagram and other engines, because the product was originally just an outbound tool, but now it has its own database, it has an agentic layer to it, it has a dialer, it'll have more integrative layers in terms of us actually loading in capabilities of helping people do end-to-end like AI SDR type of capabilities as well. So since the product is now entering it has a bit of the, before it was extremely niche, right? Like famous last words with me and the team was, I want to make it more and more difficult for you to tell your friends and family what you do at work, because it means that we are right in the weeds of it. Because the second you become popular, it means you are in the B2C space, and that's usually very top market and very competitive and very crowded. But when you're in the infrastructure layer, it's actually a lot more easier for you to, not only it gets harder to acquire customers, but you retain them longer. So for these are the 7 layers, 8 layers that I've sort of mentioned, but there is no one. And we also do webinars. We host webinars every Thursday where we get, thankfully, and by credits to the team, and God's grace, we get, 600, 700. We've had about 600, 700, sometimes even 1,000 people to 2,000 people register to these events consistently. So that's been a new channel that we've seen do well, and we're obviously putting a lot more energy into it. We run panels, webinars, we get experts, and we've been doing this for 3 years consistently every Thursday. So I think we missed maybe 3 or 4 Thursdays, but we've done that every Thursday for 3 and a bit years. And now there's a bit of traffic coming through, but the first year it was just outrun it, and I'd have 10 people show up, or 15 people show up, or 40 people show up. Yeah. So there's no one favorite channel. I definitely feel like the engineering word of mouth is actually something that's very exciting, because word of mouth, everyone talks about it and they talk of it as a sense of pride. Like, yeah, we've grown through word of mouth, which is true. I know all the VCs talk about it and it's exciting, but it is also non-predictable as to what I feel. What if someone stops talking about it because they can't? So how do you predictably manufacture word of mouth, or effectively what people call PLG? Is I guess the most exciting thing for me when I'm trying to figure out with the team how we can grow sustainably, is how do we actuate people to talk about us more? That's the fun part in it, is decision behavior theory and so on and so forth.
Now, cold email infra. I think that's been the main, let's say, the superpower, right? I mean, that
Yes.
you've kind of offered to the customers, and you've
Yes.
built a lot of things around it. And I don't want to go into the playbook. I think the playbook, I did a podcast with Alan as well from Zapmail.
Yeah.
I
From
don't
Zapier.
know if
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
yeah, we'd gone deeper into cold email infra. If you could kind of lay it down for me, cold email infra, is it still like a superpower considering AI is, bombarding people, giving capabilities to reach out to anyone, that the walls crumble down, the open rates are down, the deliverabilities and all of that. So let's
Yeah.
hear your playbook. Imagine that I'm a founder trying to get the first 20 customers
Yeah.
and I'm setting cold email, because those
Yeah.
are the guys. I mean, I'm working with some large companies as well that are deploying our solution.
Hmm.
And even when they deploy cold email, a lot of them don't, because they're larger companies, they're kind of like, they have things that they believe cold is not right for.
Yeah.
So let's
Completely
just hear.
right.
Yeah, let's just hear from you for the first 20 customer acquisition for any company, whether a startup or a new product within a large organization. What should they do? Like, give me the step by step of it.
Mm. I can give the hallucinative answer, or I can just like be just generally honest.
No, no, be super honest. I want.
Yeah. So my genuine honest answer is, as someone who loves the whole how do you get to zero to first 100 customers, how do you get them? In this day and age where again everyone's offering the same product, I come back to the same thing, right? Is if let's just maybe sorry, reverse question back. When you say SaaS founder, or like are you talking agency, SaaS,
No,
hotel?
SaaS.
SaaS. Okay.
It's
Yeah. So if you're a
B2B,
SaaS business,
B2B SaaS.
B2B SaaS
Yes.
product, right? You're doing a B2B
Yeah.
SaaS product. I say it right now, in the current market, when you chase, your trust vectoring is going to be the biggest layer for you to acquire customers.
Okay.
And outbound usually is built on a very value offer presence, which is you're completely reaching out to a stranger and you got something so incredibly strong that someone is like, okay, great. I will beat all my natural instincts of not trusting a random email I got from someone, and I will jump on a meeting with you. Right. And in a world where everyone is just told, we know it's not true. Any founder over here knows that you cannot vibe code another product. It is absolute hell and nightmare trying to sit and build your own SaaS. It is incredibly frustrating. Like after the first 3 days where the excitement goes away, it's incredibly infuriating to build your own product, like replace your HubSpot or CRM or whatever it is. So don't listen to the consumer markets and like, the stock markets, right? So from my perspective is, someone will say, oh yeah, that can be vibe coded, or yeah, I know someone else exists over there. So if they were to select you in an outbound perspective, it would simply mean you've got such a blinding presence of an offer, right? That no one else has to position it, or they've got access. You've given such a personalized message that is so relevant to them that they prefer that you have made it look so personal to them versus they just been splattered with an ad or a billboard or something of that sort.
Hmm.
But my position comes down to the same thing, is if you want to acquire first 20 customers through outbound alone will not do it for you. And I'll just be very honest, even if you see my own team's marketing or my own marketing at some point positioned to do outbound, that is the marketing part, that is true. But I will be very upfront in saying that you cannot do a single vertical growth layer to acquire your first 50 customers. You have to have trust vectoring set up from the very, very, very beginning. You need to get your paid ads in place. You need to get your
Hmm.
LinkedIn presence in position. Your website needs to look spick and span. Your LinkedIn has to be a very strong landing page, especially if it's B2B. I'm not good at B2C. I've never
Yeah.
done too well at it, but at least B2B, the people you're selling to really need to trust you that you're better than the other person. So your LinkedIn needs to be flooded with authority driven content in terms of, I know why this is happening. If you're selling like a
Hmm.
Notion alternative, you've got the best productivity hacks that no one else has. And then outbound becomes a very, very strong amplifier. Nowadays,
Wow.
if I were to come back to you 3 years ago, I would say outbound was the best hack because everything else was a lot more expensive. Outbound was actually the cheapest. But right now, to your point, AI can do everything. My design team has now figured out a way to go ahead and create about 100 to 200 paid ad content pieces that would usually take us an N amount of time that we can just now automate. So paid ad is also going to get crowded, just FYI. Like every channel gets crowded because the human inefficiency layer starts to deplete.
Yeah.
Then it just becomes, how do I efficiently find the right person and what are the signals I use? So if you're trying to bring your first 20 customers, outbound is exactly an amplifier, an enzyme. It will act as that nudge after you've pinged them. Oh yeah, I've seen your ad. I will and this is sick. Like this is great. I will go ahead and do it. What you need to do at that point in time then is ensure that the, again, offer that you're doing on an outbound perspective should be very exclusive to the outbound perspective. Because if you're just, they've seen your ads or they've seen your content or they've seen your whatever anywhere else on the internet, and you're trying to sell to them the same thing that you sold to them over there through outbound, it's not special, because you are reaching to them in a very obscure layer. So you can be like, look, if you go through me here, I will give you this. Versus if you were to go through a paid approach or land on my website or go through my LinkedIn or my social or my affiliates or whatever be the case, if it's through here, the offer is blinding enough and the trust has already been built. So that's what I would say. And just to not like get the rope off people's eyes where they feel like, oh yeah, I'll just send out 100 cold emails or 100,000 emails or 5 million emails, and I think you'll solve the problem. I think so, yes, there's still a lot of untapped markets. If you're doing outbound to like the construction industry, or you're doing outbound to insurance, people who are not technically profound or aware, where that shock factor is still there, sure, I think outbound alone might actually do a good job for you. But if your audience is builders and founders or like small companies, then your vectoring needs to be, your trust signal needs to be significantly higher, in my opinion.
Vaibhav, I must say this is one of the most well articulated take on this. I mean, you've nailed it. Let me also kind of tell you what I've come to a conclusion based on my conversations with Ivan from Cold IQ, Zapmail. I mean, I've spoken to like tons of amazing founders. I think, so I think, yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is the thing. I think you've kind of really been honest about it, and signals are important, but I mean, building an authority, I think, comes at the center of it. So let's go a bit deep down into that. You're focusing a lot on LinkedIn, and I do hear you why and how. Let's go on to a few tangents that people are still not looking at. I've been talking to a few friends who've jumped onto Substack with all their might, right? They're saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to stop focusing on LinkedIn because Substack's the new playground, and playbooks are in demand right now. It's a new. It's still growing. Then there is Instagram. I hear people generating tons of B2B leads from Instagram. And, the wall to build scalable ads on Instagram's just come down crumbling in the last few weeks because of Manus and, the APIs being opened up for Insta to let you play with almost every part of the process. So what's your playbook looking like right now with all these new, let's say, channel avenues that have opened up? Are you the one who jumps on to them like Gary Vaynerchuk, every time something like this comes up? Yeah. Are you doing that?
I try to explore new ways at all points in time, right? But I think there's also a matter of shiny object syndrome, where if I start getting distracted in every new signal, I think you quoted Gary, right? And as much as I've eventually dripped off being a fan of his as much compared to like an Hormozy, one of the things Gary does say, well, which I really appreciate, is the dumbest thing you can do is stop doing the thing that got you to where you got you. Right? Which is people like, okay, I need to try something new now. I'm like, no, dumbass, just keep doing what you're doing because that got you to where you are. We don't need to stop that and then suddenly run to the next thing. Keep doing the thing you did because that clearly got you to where you got to. It might not be the only thing that can drive the next stage of growth. You need to do other things now, but don't stop the thing that helped. Like we used to run paid before, but we're not going to run paid anymore because it's sure, run paid in a different way. Don't run paid to acquire customers. Run paid to retarget them because maybe your SEO needs to be, you've heard about SEO now, or like, I don't know, Substack branding or Reddit posting or Quora might come back to life, whatever it is, right? For me, the biggest signal that like, if I want to go into the new things that I want to do, I try pick on trends that are Bezos' approach, right? Is we solve for problems that will exist in 10 years, right? These are things that will always be needed. And I think LinkedIn, like Twitter, the reason why it's a bit exhausting is because who said it? David Wan said it's from, he's in another company called Superhuman, which is a superpower. So Twitter comes as tier 3, LinkedIn comes as tier 2, and YouTube comes as tier 1. The term you use, I forgot what it was, which is basically the age of content is very low. So the expiration period of Twitter expires, like each post you write expires in like a couple of minutes. LinkedIn, max to max a day and a half, right? And YouTube is evergreen. So Substack would actually fall under a similar note because it becomes, that blog can be, which eventually becomes a newsletter, can be referenced to for a long time window, right? In my opinion. So my perspective over here is if you want to know what we're doing, I'm jumping heavily on Instagram. Podcasts is another big one. Getting ourselves onto YouTube very proactively as well. Building up those channels, G2 reviews. My TLDR, and I guess the thing is that I don't care about giving these things away because I know half the people won't implement. 9 99% won't implement it. Only like 1% will actually bother implementing. We've got a very small window to build trust. Very, very, very small window. Because when technology no longer is the differentiator and servicing is no longer a differentiator, the only reason someone in 27 or 28 is going to choose you is because you've had a history of like um, legitimate value that you provided. Because 27 onwards, everyone's going to have G2 reviews, right? Everyone's going to have YouTube channels. Everyone's going to have something. So you've got a tiny window right now where you can actually capture and get a bit more of momentum. And if you run that for the rest of life and existence till 2100, you have got 1.5 years leverage on top of the rest of the world. That's all you've got is what I'd say, right? If you were to equate everything to like dust. So for us right now is trying to be as proactive as possible in terms of trust signaling and trust building. And we want to make sure that we're doing whatever we can to build repeated reputation and value between people, saying that if you focus on deliverability, API, infrastructure, email outbound, you choose us. And we want to just keep driving that narrative on top of people's minds. So if we've got on Instagram quite actively as well, because I always had this thing saying no one's gonna buy an N 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure deal looking at an Instagram post, which is true, but that was again me being blind and I guess oblivious and Dunning-Kruger where I thought I knew everything. I think Instagram is, we need to build people brand. So a lot of our leadership team now mandate for them to be on LinkedIn. Like it's not even a nice to have, like you have to. It's part of going to be of including my own performance agenda. We need to be on LinkedIn because A, selfishly it helps you build your brand, and B, it helps the business as well. But that's the only trust signal you have, and customers will start trusting you. I think Cold IQ are the perfect example since you said you've had them on, right? They've got most of their team on that, and that's the playbook they're using. That's a playbook we want to drive very actively as well. So to give you a pointed answer, we will attack every channel for an extremely long time period with one agenda and one agenda alone, which is to build trust versus drive conversions.
Yeah, this is so well put. I think what you mentioned about, the life, it's such a fresh perspective. I never thought about Substack that way, that the long form content is going to have a longer life. And I never looked at it that way. And I think you convinced me to focus more on it. I must say that I wasn't. So what's your, see, I'll give you the background to why I'm going to ask you the question I'm going to ask is that with AI agents, OpenClaw, Claude, Cowork, it seems super easy to be on every channel and be like really effective because it's no longer, the repurposing of content becomes democratized, right? It's just like super easy. And you can be really sharp, like not shabby, bad content. Like you'll be as good as you'll be somewhere. With that, what's your cadence? Like how aggressive are you going? Because now it's just a matter of putting a skill and putting compute hours or, another Mac Mini with an OpenClaw installed on it. So what's your posting cadence looking like right now in terms of content?
I'm a lot more proactive. I'm definitely a lot more voluminous per se, but
LinkedIn.
I think LinkedIn
Let me just
primarily.
be pointed. Yeah, like how aggressive are you right now? How many posts are you doing on a daily or a
before
weekly
it used
basis?
to be once a day, but now it's twice a day. And the reason why I do twice a day is because, so my thing is if I see a post not actually gaining a lot of traction, then I push another one. If I see one doing well for itself, I let it sort of ride for a little bit of time so it doesn't get cannibalized, and then push the other one through. Because at least this is, again, there's enough LinkedIn gurus. I don't claim to be one. At least from the little bit that I've seen, is there is a layer of cannibalization does happen. LinkedIn does not. I haven't seen it necessarily accept two high performing posts at the same time. Unlike YouTube, you could have 10 videos pop at the same time, or Instagram, you could have like 5 Instagram videos pop at the same time. LinkedIn, I've seen it to be very linear, where one after the other has to happen. So I've just moved from one post a day to 2 and just be consistent every single day, 7 days a week, and not stop. And now I've got a bit of a streak going, so now I can't stop. So I'll put random things as well. And sometimes that quantity to quality outcome, you'll see it. Like I call it my thing, which is I realize whenever I over engineer a post thinking this will slap, it almost never does. And sometimes it's the most basic things that I push. I'm assuming you speak Hindi, but I was like, it's a few swear words. So I'm like, how could this go? And this other thing that is just so value driven, I know this is something no one else knows. No one gives a shit about. And when I write something that I just randomly talked about, like I'm literally walking to my car, I'm like, okay, let's just post this. There's spelling mistakes, grammar issues. I read the post. I'm like, I didn't even I put there instead of there. Like I made mistakes, but I'm at like about 18,000, 20,000, 40,000 impressions. And then I've written like a fully articulated like a full
Yeah, I
nicely
know
positioned
exactly what you
post with
mean.
like a custom made Giphy that I've asked my designer to create, and it's got like 7 likes. So,
Yeah.
so
What's
yeah,
the follower count right now?
I don't know, something 30,000.
Okay. Okay. So that's kind
Uh,
of in.
let me check. 30,000. Yeah, 30,
Yeah.
31,000. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I think I agree with you. It's almost like that girlfriend that you can never guess how the mood's going to be tonight.
Yeah.
It's almost
Yeah.
like that on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I think Instagram is, I mean, some of these platforms become a bit more predictable. So that's your cadence. And what's your Substack cadence right now? Like, are you going daily? Are you going
So
weekly?
I'm not
How
I'm
many?
not pushing Substack actively as well. I'm actually pushing Instagram. So I'm going proactive on Instagram and YouTube actually rather than Substack. And the reason is I think signaling to what you said, which is
Hmm.
I think the people will now buy from faces a lot more,
Yeah.
and we need to start building that face a lot harder on that side. And for me, I think distribution, retention, and management on Substack is a lot. Newsletters take effort, and if I know two things are going to take effort, but one thing I've got a little more understanding and experience with, I'd rather push for that. We have our newsletters in place. I've driven and grown newsletters in the past. I think I forgot even the ones that I had. It was on Substack, I think smart ideas. I think it was like from 2021 that I did, and I had about 12,000 subs there. I didn't get to convert a lot of them. It was just very tough to manage and build and grow proactively. But I know when I can do YouTube, I can have a compound cycle come through. But my
Yeah.
main piece over here is I think the the sensory authority that you drive when you push video is a lot more than the sensory authority you drive when you push
Mhm.
text. So I feel like Hormozi says it right, which is you can shout affirmations on the window, but the thing that will just undeniable execution is what's going to just build you to be confident. And I think I've recognized that if you've just built a business that works and people know it, it's just easier to amplify everything else.
Hmm.
It's a lot harder to amplify something when you don't have the bit and you're like in that gyan mode where you're in like, I'm just trying to give advice and I know I don't have anything to back it. But when you have something to back it, whatever it may be, it just becomes a lot easier. So for me, if I drive YouTube, then I know I can push Substack a lot easier versus if I
Yeah.
push Substack to YouTube. Now, there can be a counterpoint where people say build a Substack and then you can easily get like a click on the video and that becomes the distribution
Yeah.
channel to then get people to go on YouTube. And that is true. And that is completely fair. And that's correct. And there's no if or but for it. We can definitely take to your point, repurpose a YouTube video and get that into a Substack and definitely push for it. But if I were to look at creative ideas where I want to put in a bit of juice in terms of growing it, I would rather focus on YouTube right now as my personal want. Because if I get the YouTube video ready as my top funnel, then
Hmm.
slip it into Instagram posts, LinkedIn posts, TikTok videos, if you want to go there, and a Substack post from the YouTube content is a lot easier than going from Substack to then create YouTube.
Yeah,
So
no, I
uh,
agree with you. You know, if
yeah,
we look at this conversation that we've just had for the last 45 minutes or so, there's a brilliant newsletter,
yeah,
which could
absolutely
go
right.
on because there could be so many infographics from what you just said, from what we discussed. I mean, this is brilliant long form content, and you can humanize it with skills and like almost 90,
100%.
95% AI driven. I just did a podcast last week with Shamu, who manages
Yeah, yeah.
Adam's YouTube.
He's handling ours as well.
Okay, I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Wow, wow. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Small
Smart
world.
guy.
Very smart guy. Yeah.
Small world. Yeah, I mean, very smart guy. Like, I think
Mm.
there were some brilliant insights into YouTube. Like, that was the first time I kind of dived deep into it. And we might bring
Yeah.
him on board for ours as well. But yeah, I think you're looking at it the right way. So a lot of echo there, of like some brilliant playbooks. Now, you mentioned going from building agents, automating stuff within your company to all these smart execution of building a voice and a brand and then executing a lot of your playbooks around it. That's what I'm getting a gist of. That's what
Mm,
keeps you busy.
mm.
Now, is that your main focus, like these two dimensions right now, from a point of view of growing your business from where you are to the next stage? Or is there anything else that takes your time?
So look, I think everyone's focus should be growth, right? If I think my famous last words is if you're less than 100 ARR, everyone in the team should focus on growth. And I say that number very
You
obliviously
mean
aware of the fact that it's a
100K?
very unattainable 100 million ARR.
Okay.
It's a very unattainable number, and I know I say it very obliviously and very obnoxiously or ignorant driven, but I say that with reason of the fact that you should always focus on growth as a business. So people say, oh yeah, focus on growth. Like until 20 million, you should focus on growth. And 30, I'm like, no, just always focus on growth. And if you think 100 million is unachievable, I'm saying that on purpose. That is the whole point. It's just you always need to focus on growth. Even if you're at 100 million, you need to focus on growth. Even at a billion, you need to focus on growth, because the second you stop focusing on it, which is you stop innovating, right? Then you end up driving. It's about, I think the intention behind it is, am I just trying to maximize, I don't know who said this, someone said this really well, but I'll get to that point. So am I trying to maximize just pruning about how much I can get from an existing customer, or am I maximizing how much I can give to them in a sustainable way? And nothing's wrong in both. Both are very good ways to do it.
Yeah.
And that's where I want to come to my second point. I don't know who said this. I'm sure some industry said it, is profit is made on the floor. You do not make money by charging more. You make money by being more efficient. So if your cogs are low, that's where you make profit. You don't make profit by charging customers more, because eventually they will catch up, because the markets will pull towards a lower price. And when the markets pull towards a lower price, then you suddenly start saying, oh, why are my margins dropped? But if you run an efficient cycle from the very beginning, or as close as you can then sustainably run a very good business for a very long period without having to go ahead and increase your top line, increase your bottom line of your cost. So for me, operational efficiency to an extent is, I wouldn't say it's growth related, but operational efficiency with respect to support experience being improved, which by nature then will drive my retention to be longer, making sure the customers are happier. And then as a result, increase my LTV because my customers they're like, okay, they trust the product, they see the value. And as a result, they're going to go ahead and increase their spend, right? Or our net retention rate improves, and our net churn gets better. So I get healthier customers because the customers stay longer. So if growth is decided for the team for the 1 month is new acquisition, then no, what I'm doing right now is not what I'm going to be focusing on. But if growth is focused on improving net MRR, then yes, I will focus on the operational efficiencies of the business, which is what I've mentioned in a part as well, which is improving support, improving product stability, la. So unfortunately, I don't have like a streamlined answer, because all things have to attribute towards growth. The layer where I have to jump in very actively with the team, especially engineering, is be like, no, this is not necessary. I know the database can be made better. It is not going to do anything for us. And then I think you asked me that thing around scrappiness. I think I missed a point raised, is we actually I asked the team to set an expiry on every decision we take. Because engineering team members, even with AI, we tend to go, I'm a dev myself, we go into this principle of, I need to build the perfect solution. So what I tell my team is, look, I'll save you the energy, set an expiry for me, and I'm okay with that. Vaibhav, this is going to be okay for the next X amount of customers or till December. I'm like, nah, you are over engineering it. If you're building this till December, it's way too far. Make it okay till July. That's all I need you to build it towards, right? Because when I build it towards July, then that's enough. Then just push it. Like, we're done. Like, it's okay. And raise a ticket. We're on ClickUp, which we love nowadays. It does a lot of the AI things. So I'm like, raise a ticket, put the expiry. ClickUp itself will nag us and kill us, saying that you cannot move. Once like May or June starts coming, it will literally not let the team create new tickets, because it will tell us July was the expiry for this architectural thing and you need to fix it. Otherwise, the whole system crashes. So we sort of just keep prodding along the way, to a point where after which I know this approach will not work. That's when, like, you look at IPO or like full enterprise based customers, then you need to be a bit more systemized in the way you want to do it. You can't go in such a scrappy manner. So, but yeah, that's how I handle growth with the team as well, which is on a product perspective, is how do we actively just deploy things and give them what is necessary on a value perspective, and on a system perspective, be okay for this amount.
Okay, so you've had a bit of bad luck with the early products, or let's just say that they weren't as successful as you've tasted success in the recent years. Would you attribute your attitude towards and focus on growth as one of the key drivers of going like getting luckier? Is that one single thing that you'll attribute your success to the most?
I would love to say I'm successful. I think I can't actually verbalize it. I feel like there's still a lot to achieve. But if you were to position it in that narrative, I think the biggest differentiator, if you were to ask what made this different, I think if that's a summarized question, right?
Yeah.
Did I understand that right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do one
Um,
attribution.
okay.
I know there
One
are many.
attribution is I stopped looking for a growth hack. I pretty much said, this is going to take me 4 years to build. If it's going to take me 4 years to build, how would I do this? The quickest way to the longest road for success is looking for the shortest solution, right? To the biggest outcome. But if you want to get the largest solution, and to get there as quickly as you can, you want to look for the longest solution possible. So I genuinely just stopped looking for growth hacks. I stopped looking for like, oh, let's build this cool thing, or let me do this little Facebook ad that I see people are doing. Let me do this hack. Let me do this. I was just like, all right, look, I need to go. There's an outbound tool. There's enough in the market. Let me go see. Let me do the most basic things everyone says. Go look on
Yeah.
reviews. Go see what is bad. See what people don't like. Okay, API is pretty crap for everyone. They don't like support, and they feel like the companies run by the competitors. We had like 30 competitors when we launched. We're all like salespeople. Cool. I am going to position the business as engineered for deliverability because I'm a developer, and the founding team was all developers, and I got sales as well. So that was a bit of a switch. I focused on support 24/7. I was the only support person for the first 9 months of the business. And we said, okay, we'll go API first. We'll allow people to go down this entire Zapier automation perspective. And we gave an API engine for everyone to go with. So like if you look at the graph of SL in ChartMogul, there's not like, how you see the YC star like hockey, like there was no, it just went like that, right? So there was no magic moment that led to this. And I think the more you chase a magic moment, the longer it's just gonna take you. I think it's very similar to just building muscle. I recognize that all these little, you take all the pills, drugs, whatever you want, if people want to do that, eat good food, have some creatine, have some protein powder, just show up 3-4 days a week, and then just set the target to achieve in 1 year. Let me put it this way. I sacrificed achieving 1 million in 1 month to achieving it sustainably in 1 year. Let's just call it that way. I think that was my thing is that we just said, let's just give this a crack for a longer time window. Alex calls it like Hormozy again, right? The dude nails it really well, which is measure in decades, not in weeks. I think when you start measuring things in decades, it becomes a lot more easier for you to do that. But that doesn't mean you be lazy and slow everything down. Then that's where Gary Vee comes in, which is macro patience, micro speed, right? So I think that's the very jumbled version of, I think with SL, the biggest thing was just planning in a long window. And then that's when we're like, okay, we'll focus on customer support. We ran paid ads only about like 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago. I wrote SEO articles constantly from the first day, right? The first team we hired was the SEO team, the blog writing team. We didn't hire a paid ads team or Instagram or design. Like it was the first team of the SEO team. Like if the original team members that you look at, whoever have been around, the oldest team members are basically from the content writing marketing team right now. So just went down that path. And I think that was that's, I guess, how I would attribute to it. And along with customer support being a big part of it.
Wow, that's a beautiful way to kind of summarize, what got you here. And usually I have this last question where I ask you to give one advice to entrepreneurs who are on their way to kind of make it. But I think as luck would have it, I think you gave such a perfect answer. I don't want to kind of pollute it with anything else. So I think I'll stop right there because this was just so beautifully put. But no, thank you so much for taking out the time and sharing so freely. I think this has been brilliant. I mean, tons of learnings for me. And like I said, it's been brilliant.
I
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kenner. Appreciate it.